Picture this. It's January. The gym is packed. Someone is grinding away on a treadmill, face red, shirt drenched, gasping like they just sprinted out of a building on fire. They've been doing this 5 days a week for 3 weeks straight. They're exhausted, sore, and quietly terrified because when they stood in front of the mirror this morning, their stomach looked exactly the same as it did on New Year's Day. Maybe even worse, more bloated, more stubborn, more impossible. And nobody at that gym, not the trainers, not the influencers on the screen above the treadmill, not the app on their phone, is going to tell them the truth about why their hardest effort is quietly working against them. Here is that truth. The problem is not their willpower. The problem is not their consistency. The problem is not even the number of calories they are burning. The problem is a hormone that the fitness industry conveniently buries every time they sell you the next high-intensity program or 6-week transformation challenge. That hormone is cortisol. Every time you push your body into a perceived emergency through brutal cardio, your adrenal glands release a flood of cortisol into your bloodstream. This is your ancient survival chemical, your fight or flight alarm system. And cortisol has a very specific, very inconvenient relationship with belly fat. It does not burn it. It locks it in place. From a biological standpoint, that fat wrapped around your organs is your body's emergency energy reserve, and your body is not going to surrender its emergency reserve while it believes you are in an emergency. The harder you push, the tighter the grip your body keeps on that fat. It is one of the cruelest ironies in human biology.
But here is where things get interesting. There is a completely different way to approach this, a way that works with your biology, instead of declaring war on it. Some people call it the easy mode. And before you roll your eyes at that phrase and assume it is some excuse for doing nothing, stay with this, because easy mode in this context means something very specific. It means biologically aligned. It means choosing movements that send your body a message of safety rather than panic. It means understanding that your body releases stored fat, not when it feels attacked, but when it feels safe, nourished, and stable. And when you understand that, the most effective fat loss tool on the planet starts to make a lot more sense. It is not a HIIT class. It is not a spin bike. It is walking. Not the aimless kind of walking where you meander through a shopping center with your phone in your hand. Not a lazy stroll to the kitchen and back. We are talking about strategic, biologically optimized walking. Walking that is timed, paced, and structured in ways that flip specific metabolic switches most people don't even know exist inside their own bodies. There is a science here that goes far deeper than the simple idea that moving your legs burns calories. Walking, done correctly, manipulates your hormonal environment, activates hidden glucose pathways, triggers endocrine signals from your bones, and sends neurological safety messages to the deepest threat detection centers of your brain. Today, we are going to break down 5 specific protocols that transform a humble walk into one of the most powerful metabolic tools available to you right now, without a gym, without equipment, and without destroying your joints or your sanity. To understand why walking outperforms running specifically for belly fat, you have to understand how your body chooses its fuel. Think of your body as a machine with 2 fuel tanks. The first tank holds sugar, which scientists call glucose in its circulating form, and glycogen in its stored form. The second tank holds fat, specifically free fatty acids drawn from your adipose tissue. Both tanks contribute to your energy output at all times, but the ratio between them shifts dramatically depending on how hard you are working. When you run hard, when your heart rate climbs and your breathing becomes rapid and shallow, your body reads that physiological state the same way it would have read it 10,000 years ago on the open plains. Something is wrong. Something is threatening your survival. And in a survival scenario, you need energy immediately, not in 5 minutes. Fat is a slow-burning fuel. It requires abundant oxygen and a precise metabolic process to convert properly. In an emergency, your body cannot afford to wait for that process, so it bypasses the fat tank almost entirely and burns sugar at maximum speed.
The consequences of this are worse than most people realize. Once your glycogen stores run low from aggressive cardio, your body does not simply pause and start burning fat instead.
It triggers cortisol to break down your own muscle tissue through a process called gluconeogenesis, which is essentially the manufacturing of new glucose out of the protein in your muscles. You leave the gym exhausted, depleted, inflamed, and ravenous, having burned plenty of calories, but having targeted almost none of them from your actual fat stores. You emptied the wrong tank. And then you go home and overeat, because your body just cannibalized its own muscle, and it is demanding replacement. Walking completely changes this equation. When you walk at a controlled, moderate pace, your heart rate stays low, your breathing remains steady, and your body receives an entirely different signal. There is no predator. There is no emergency. There is abundant oxygen available. In that state, your body freely opens the fat tank and begins oxidizing stored fat as its primary fuel source. You might burn fewer total calories per minute than running, but the percentage of those calories drawn directly from visceral fat is exponentially higher. You are not burning energy randomly. You are targeting the specific fuel tank you actually want to empty.
The first protocol is about timing, and it might be the single most effective thing you do all day for your blood sugar and your waistline. Walk for 10 to 15 minutes immediately after your largest meal. Not 2 hours later when you remember, not tomorrow morning, immediately after, within 15 minutes of finishing your plate. Here is why this matters so much. If you carry belly fat, particularly the hard, organ-surrounding kind that pushes your stomach outward, you very likely have some degree of insulin resistance. This is not a catastrophic diagnosis. It simply means that the receptors on your muscle cells have become less responsive to insulin's signal. Insulin is supposed to function like a key that unlocks the doors of your cells, allowing glucose from your meal to enter and be used for energy. When you are insulin resistant, those locks are gunked up. The key barely turns. Your pancreas panics and produces even more insulin, trying to force the door open. And that high insulin is itself a powerful fat storage signal. When insulin is elevated, your body is locked in storage mode, and fat burning becomes nearly impossible.
But your muscle cells have a secret back door, a hidden entrance that bypasses the broken insulin system entirely. This back door is a protein called GLUT4, a glucose transporter that normally sits dormant and inactive deep inside your muscle cells. The remarkable thing about GLUT4 is what activates it, not insulin, muscle contraction. When you physically move your legs in a walking motion, the mechanical action of those muscle fibers contracting pushes GLUT4 transporters to the surface of the cell membrane, where they open and begin pulling glucose directly out of your bloodstream without needing any insulin signal at all. Your muscles act like a dry sponge dropped into water, drawing in glucose rapidly and completely. You are physiologically bypassing the broken system and using movement itself as the key. The post-meal glucose spike flattens. The insulin spike that would have followed it never fully materializes. Your body stays out of storage mode, and you metabolically earn the meal you just ate in a way that no diet or supplement could replicate.
The second protocol is about pace, and it solves a problem that quietly ruins most people's fat loss walking without them ever knowing it. The problem is intensity. Some people walk too fast, pushing themselves into a light jog intensity that spikes their heart rate and drags them right back into sugar-burning mode. Others walk too slowly, maintaining a gentle pace that barely elevates their metabolism above resting. Neither extreme maximizes fat oxidation. What you need is the fat max zone, a specific band of intensity where your body is burning the highest possible proportion of fat relative to total calories. The brilliant thing is that you do not need a heart rate monitor or a laboratory to find it. You simply close your mouth and keep it closed for the entire walk. Every breath in and every breath out goes through your nose only. If you start walking fast enough that you feel a desperate urge to open your mouth and gulp air, you have crossed the line. You have left fat-burning territory. Slow down until nasal breathing is completely comfortable, and you are precisely where you need to be.
There is a deeper layer of chemistry that makes nasal breathing even more powerful than the pace calibration alone. When you breathe through your mouth during exertion, you exhale large quantities of carbon dioxide very rapidly. Most people assume this is a purely good thing, clearing waste gas to make room for fresh oxygen. But the Bohr effect tells a different story. A slight elevation of carbon dioxide in your bloodstream actually causes hemoglobin to release oxygen more readily into your muscle cells and mitochondria. Your fat-burning machinery receives the oxygen it needs to operate at full capacity. Additionally, nasal breathing triggers the release of nitric oxide in your nasal passages. Nitric oxide is a natural vasodilator. It relaxes and widens your blood vessels, improving circulation, lowering blood pressure, and sending signals to your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest branch, that tells your entire body everything is calm and safe. You are burning fat while simultaneously lowering cortisol. You are working with your biology at every level.
The third protocol adds a layer of resistance without adding an ounce of impact, and it is called light rucking. Your body is one of the most sophisticated adaptation machines ever designed. When you do the same movement repeatedly, it becomes extraordinarily efficient at it. After a few weeks of consistent walking, your cardiovascular system, your muscles, and your movement patterns all recalibrate to perform that activity as cheaply as possible. This efficiency means you burn fewer calories covering the same distance than you did in week 1. Your body has learned to walk cheaply. To keep progressing without tripling your time investment, you need to introduce a variable the body cannot fully adapt to. You need a load. Take a standard backpack and fill it with something heavy. 2 or 3 liters of water works perfectly, weighing roughly 5 to 7 pounds. A couple of thick books will do the same job. Aim for a total pack weight somewhere between 5 and 15 pounds, depending on where you are starting from, and begin on the lighter end. You can always add more as the weeks go by.
This added weight does something that goes far beyond simple calorie math. The load recruits your type 2 muscle fibers, the powerful strength fibers that are normally left dormant during regular low-intensity walking. It forces your core, your lower back, and your glutes to engage continuously for stabilization. What was a lower body cardiovascular activity transforms into a full body metabolic event. Research shows the caloric cost of walking increases by roughly 20 to 30% when carrying even a modest load. But the more extraordinary effect happens at the hormonal level. When weight presses down through your skeletal system, through your spine, your hips, and your legs, your bones respond as the endocrine organs they actually are. Many people do not know that bones are not passive structural scaffolding. They are metabolically active, hormone-producing organs. Under mechanical load, your bones release a hormone called osteocalcin, which travels through your bloodstream and communicates directly with your pancreas and your fat cells. Osteocalcin improves insulin sensitivity. It signals your body to direct nutrients toward muscle rather than fat storage. By simply wearing a loaded backpack, you are triggering hormonal signaling that continues paying metabolic dividends for hours after the walk ends.
The fourth protocol addresses the root cause that sits underneath all persistent belly fat, and most people are actively making it worse without realizing it. The root cause is stress. Chronic, unrelenting, low-grade stress that keeps cortisol elevated day after day, signaling your body to preserve visceral fat as a survival asset. To shrink that fat permanently, you cannot just burn it from the outside with exercise. You have to turn off the hormonal switch that keeps putting it back. This is where Optic flow comes in. When you stare at a phone screen, a laptop, a dashboard, or any close-up object, you engage what neuroscientists call foveal vision. It is narrow, high-focus, tunnel-like visual processing. From a biological standpoint, tunnel vision signals only 2 things. You are either pursuing prey, or something is pursuing you. Either interpretation activates your sympathetic nervous system and elevates cortisol. Modern humans spend their entire waking lives in foveal vision. Phones at breakfast, computers all day, phones again at night. We are living in a continuous state of low-grade visual threat, and our hormones reflect it.
When you walk outside and allow your gaze to relax and soften, when you stop fixating on any one point and let your peripheral vision open up, the experience your nervous system receives is completely different. As you move forward through space, trees and buildings and parked cars and lampposts stream past you in your peripheral field in a pattern neuroscientists call optic flow. This specific combination of forward motion with flowing peripheral movement sends a direct calming signal to the amygdala, the threat detection center buried deep in your brain. The amygdala reads that pattern and registers safety, movement through an undisturbed environment, no predators in pursuit, no crisis unfolding. It begins to stand down. Cortisol levels measurably drop. This is not a metaphor or a wellness concept. It is documented neuroscience. Optic flow is one of the most potent non-pharmaceutical interventions for lowering chronic stress available to any human being. To access it, you simply need to walk outside without your phone, let your eyes drift naturally to the middle distance, and allow the world to flow through your peripheral vision as you move. You are not just burning existing fat, you are dismantling the hormonal signal that keeps manufacturing more of it.
The fifth protocol stacks two biological advantages into a single brief window of time that most people sleep straight through. This is morning activation. When you wake up, your body is in a uniquely favorable metabolic state. You have not eaten for 8 to 12 hours. Your insulin is at its lowest point of the entire day. Your liver has spent the night slowly feeding your brain from its glycogen stores, leaving those stores partially depleted. There is no circulating glucose blocking access to your fat tissue. There is no insulin locking the fat cells shut. A 20 to 30-minute walk before your first meal sends your body directly into fat mobilization with almost zero resistance. Your muscles need fuel. There is no sugar available. The fat tissue opens up and fatty acids pour into the bloodstream to be burned. The rate of fat oxidation during a fasted morning walk is measurably and significantly higher than the identical walk performed after a meal. You are not working harder. You are simply working at the right time.
The second gift of morning activation is sunlight. When natural light enters your eyes in the first hour after waking, it triggers a cascade of neurological events that anchor your entire circadian rhythm for the day. Your brain registers morning, pegs your cortisol peak to that early window where it biologically belongs, and begins preparing the hormonal arc that will carry you through the next 24 hours. Morning cortisol is healthy cortisol. It is the version that delivers energy, mental clarity, and motivation. The cortisol you do not want is the kind that stays elevated into the afternoon and evening, disrupting your sleep architecture and driving fat storage in your abdomen overnight. By walking in the morning sun, you are engineering better sleep for that night, which makes you more insulin sensitive the following morning, which makes fat burning easier the next day. Each day you do this builds on the last. The biology compounds in your favor.
Now, somewhere in the back of your mind, a voice is probably asking whether this is really enough, whether something this accessible, this gentle, this sustainable, can genuinely produce the results that months of brutal gym sessions failed to deliver. That voice is not coming from your body. It is coming from decades of fitness industry messaging that has taught you to equate suffering with progress, discomfort with results, and complexity with effectiveness. The industry profits when you believe the protocols are so grueling and complicated that you need their programs, memberships, and supplements forever. They do not profit when you understand that your body responds to signals, not punishment. They do not profit when you realize that your fat is not being stubborn out of spite. It is responding rationally to a hormonal environment that has been telling it to stay put. And all you need to do is change the message.
These 5 protocols are not about incinerating calories through sheer volume of effort. They are about precision signaling. The post-meal glucose sponge walk tells your muscles to absorb blood sugar through mechanical force instead of broken insulin receptors. The nasal breathing rule tells your mitochondria that oxygen is abundant and fat is the preferred fuel. Light rucking tells your bones to release hormones that redirect energy toward muscle and away from storage. The optic flow reset tells your amygdala to stand down and let cortisol drop. The morning activation walk tells your circadian system to anchor cortisol in the morning, protect your sleep at night, and mobilize fat stores before the first meal of the day. Stack these signals consistently over days and weeks, and the body responds. Not because you forced it, because you finally started speaking its language. Tonight, do not plan a workout. Plan a walk. Find a backpack and put something in it. Step outside as the sun drops toward the horizon. Close your mouth and breathe through your nose the entire time. Let your eyes drift to the distance and feel the world stream past you in your peripheral vision.
Notice the stress dissolving with each step. Notice your muscles pulling glucose from the meal you just finished. Notice your bones sending quiet hormonal instructions that will continue working while you sleep. And tomorrow morning, before anything else, before coffee, before your phone, before the noise of the day begins, step back outside. Let the morning light reach your eyes. Walk for 20 minutes with nowhere to be and nothing to prove. Then come inside and eat breakfast knowing you have already accomplished more for your metabolism than an hour of desperate cortisol-spiking treadmill running ever could. This is what easy mode actually looks like. Not the absence of effort, just effort that finally makes biological sense. The body has always known how to let go of the fat it no longer needs. It was just waiting until it felt safe enough to do it.